What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined once again by Degenerate Jay, and we got a special one for you. I started this series of how I would do something, and in this video, I thought it'd be very timely. Assassin's Creed Shadows, at the time you guys are watching this, is now out, and, the new era of Assassin's Creed is here. So I thought, well, let's do part 2 to this series, and let's talk about what both of us, who's Jay, resident Assassin's Creed fan over there. He's made a lot of Assassin's Creed videos on his channel. Let's talk about what we would do if we were in the Ubisoft seat. And I know we've had people ask me, do you want to just do Ubisoft in general? We'll get there, but for this video, let's just run Assassin's Creed. Let's get this ship figured out, and then we can tackle the other Ubisoft franchises another day. So I want to welcome Jay in. All his info will be in the description below. And Jay, welcome into this constructive video, I think.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, it's always fun to talk about what we would kind of do if we were in charge of something. Obviously, there's going to be all these logistics and things behind the scenes, but I feel like there's a lot of things on surface level you could do to help where Assassin's Creed is and where it's been for years. So this is certainly going to be a topic.
Yeah. So, and like you just said, we're not, look, we're sitting here, we're on YouTube, we're not going through the nitty gritty of how we're keeping employees, happy and all this jazz. We're literally just trying to look at, okay, franchises, games, what we would do here and there. So, well, Jay, I had a couple ideas myself. I kind of wanted to run some of them through you, and then you can kind of, bounce it off of me. I think, to be honest with you, with Assassin's Creed, we might be in a similar spot based off our text behind the scenes, because what I'm looking at, and I think I said this for WB, I'm really looking to expand, okay? I'm really looking to try to nail a couple different things, and I'm not trying to reinvent the formula, okay? So I want to start off with one specific thing, and I want to hear your thoughts to that, and then you can go off. The first thing I'm doing beyond anything else, okay, I'll let the black flag thing go. And by the way, for this exercise, we have to kind of approach it how they're doing it right now. So, because black flag is in the works, we can't, I guess we can cancel it, but we can't pretend like Black Flag's remake doesn't exist, right? So, in my ideal world, I'll let Black Flag go. That game will come out, and I think it will do pretty good. People like Black Flag, that remake would work. First thing I'm doing, though, is I'm greenlighting AC1. We're bringing back the first game. We're bringing it back as a remake. It's what they should have done in the first place. And, in terms of what I would do with Assassin's Creed 1, to be honest with you, it's tough because I'm not going to change it to be the newer games. But also, if you play Assassin's Creed 1, you play 2, you play Brotherhood, that gameplay doesn't exactly hold up as well as at least I thought it did a couple of years ago. I will say, though, I'm probably going to leave it. I'll probably try to enhance the AI, try to make them a little bit smarter. They're not circling you, waiting 10 minutes to strike. But generally, I'm leaving Assassin's Creed 1, ideally how it is, maybe making some small tweaks here and there, maybe trying to shake up some of the side stuff, right? They got into a repetition cycle back then with doing the same thing over and over. I would try to break that stuff up, but just, again, generally looking at it, I'm bringing back Assassin's Creed 1. That's going to be kind of my flagship, at least to remake. And I would, by the way, I'd also consider doing the Ezio trilogy. I know they've already done, remaster, collection kind of things. I'm going to do one first, and I'm going to think about what to do. Not bringing Ezio back, newer games, but I'm thinking about remaking 2 Brotherhood Revelations. So you have any thoughts on that specific strategy or what you would do?
So I think with AC1, I completely agree because, so here's the thing. On PlayStation especially, this is a weird title. And on Xbox, obviously, they've moved away from the backwards compatibility stuff. But right now, AC1 exists on Xbox as a backwards compatibility game. If you have the disc or you want to buy it, whatever. PlayStation, it's kind of weird where it didn't really come up. I know they've done things with PlayStation Now and Plus. So I think remaking, or at the very least, doing a comprehensive remaster of 1 and not being able to finish, the whole series, not being able to play the whole series right now on one platform is something that does, I think, affect a lot of people. So I think restarting with AC1, at the very least, making that available. We have the Ezio trilogy already available if you don't get to it, but AC1 is something you need, especially because there have been hints, right now of Desmond possibly coming back at some point or being referenced. So I think you need to start with that as a flagship. So I think also one that really does need some attention is Assassin's Creed 3. Assassin's Creed 3 was a victim of a lot of cut ideas and time issues, and to this day it persists with a lot of glitches, but it has a very strong narrative. I think that if we were able to take some of these games too, and I even had the idea of if you want to remake AC1, which is a good idea, why not go for a combat style more like AC3 or 4? I like the original combat style of these games. I even enjoy the first one for what it is. The Ezio trilogy is more fun, but I think you get to a very fun action style of combat with AC3 and 4 and Rogue. And I think that era, though, suffers from glitch problems and polish issues. So if you're going to be going through remaking games, you said, well, let's let the 4-1 go for now, let it come out. I would say that 3, though, would be a very good follow up to 4, especially because it technically takes place after it in terms of the past story. That's one that I would revisit for a remake personally. I think the American frontier, all the stuff going on there, it's such a fascinating time period and interesting part of the series. And I think that if you tweaked a couple things with the story, if we went back, we get the voice actors back, tweak a couple of things with the story, maybe add in a few more emotional moments, and actually make sure that gameplay is up to snuff. I think that AC3 could be sitting up there kind of like AC4 as one that people point to as a golden boy of this franchise. And right now, I love it, but it's not. So that's one I would definitely revisit, especially if we're in that era.
I love that idea. You know what? You kind of moved us towards the next thing that I would do. So when it comes to that era, the next thing I'm doing, you can let me know what you think about this. I'm bringing back. So there's a reason. Okay, there's a reason why I would let Black Flag go and have that remake. It's because, well, you think about all of those. You think about Ezio, and to me, you kind of leave the past as the past, and like there was some good in the Syndicate, Unity kind of era and all that stuff. But there's one game that stands out, and there's one game that is referenced, I think, above all else, and it's of course Black Flag, right? You get Skull and Bones from it, you're getting the remake from it. So I would be pretty stupid if I'm the head of Ubisoft to not do something with Black Flag. And so I would do what would be considered a spiritual successor to Black Flag. Again, I think it's kind of a no-brainer when people bring up, open world pirate, RPGs. They bring up Black Flag because that's kind of the best one that we've gotten, right? It's kind of mixed in terms of, you got the ship stuff, but you also have the on-land combat. So to be honest with you, I would be pushing it almost in. It doesn't even have to be too much of an Assassin's Creed game. I'm sure that's something we'll get into with like Hexe and, kind of going in the future. If we're already in this weird world where we're pushing Assassin's Creed and sometimes it doesn't even feel like Assassin's Creed, I'm going to kind of stick to that theme, as general manager, and I'm going to bring back the remake of Black Flag, and I'm also just going to do a second one altogether. The remake could be a second one depending on what they overhaul, so I guess I would have to do some sort of deep look at that, right? But generally, I'm going to try to just do a second one. We're going to revamp the ships. We're going to make the best looking water we've ever seen. We're doing ship combat. We're doing, hand-to-hand or sword combat, and we're going to literally make it basically a Pirates game that I've never gotten before, and we're just going to do it with a Black Flag too. So, again, not necessarily like the exact same thing, Jay, but what would you do anything, I guess, specifically with Black Flag or with that type of style of game?
A spiritual successor for Black Flag is something I've been advocating for years now. I mean, it's something that it is a no-brainer. I'm shocked that we haven't seen it. So if we're in charge, that's something I would do right away. Now, you can do that with several different angles. Actually, almost any assassin can be brought back, for as long as they're not dead, obviously. But even then, there are time periods in their life we haven't seen. When it comes to Edward, he did have more adventures after AC4, actually. It's something that the webcomic gets into. It's something that is referenced in comic books. It's something that we know of from Animus database entries. Like, his life didn't just stop. He didn't just end up in, Britain and then he's done. What ends up happening is he does have some more adventures in him. So if you want to follow a spiritual successor, I think there's several ways you can do it. And I actually think this supports more than one game. I've always thought that the pirate side of AC could almost splinter off into its own franchise or miniature franchise in the same world. So what I think too is looking at this and looking at the disaster of Skull and Bones in terms of money and in terms of what it's reaped, I think that you can go different ways. You can have a narrative style spinoff with Edward. You can have a narrative style spinoff with a different assassin. He's not the only one who used a boat. You can have a narrative style spinoff or not, with your own creative character that is a pirate. I think that right there would be your dream in a way, where it's like, a pirate game, and you can even just set it in the Assassin's Creed world, still have it tie into the faction of the assassins. Maybe you're working with them a bit. Even if you look back at AC Valhalla, this is something kind of going on with Ivor, where it's you're not really an assassin, you're more of like an associate of the Hidden Ones type idea. You're helping them, but you're not really a joiner. And I think that right there could definitely be a pirate. Like, imagine you're a Jack Sparrow type. You're out there, you're on the high seas. You lean more good than bad, so you're not someone they'd send an assassin after. You're probably helping them in a way, but maybe you could create your own character, create your own ship, customize these things, but there still could be a core narrative to tie it together so that it's not aimless completely. And I've always looked at Black Flag as, how did you let this go? Like, how would that administration let that go? And for bringing it back, why just a remake? Why not expand on the world? So I think that right there is a great idea, and I think it supports multiple games. Actually, it's even something that in universe at the time they were working on a pirate movie. I know we've gotten pirate movies before, but if you're going to revisit Assassin's Creed as a franchise, and maybe you want to expand into other things, right there, multimedia, like, you could basically make your own Pirates of the Caribbean in a way without just copying it, and you're raking in millions.
I love it personally. It's my dream. It's what I want. And I would talk more about like the Skull and Bones kind of angle, but we're sticking just to the Assassin's Creed franchise. But Skull and Bones really dropped the ball. And if I'm head of Ubisoft, just in general, I'm doing a full on investigation of how that ended up being passed for so many years. I'm finding out if
Yeah.
that Singapore thing or whatever. I'm finding out if that government thing really was the only reason that game happened. So, well, I want to throw it to you, Jay, because we've really, unless there's anything else you want to talk about in terms of the past, what we really now would have to, in terms of bringing back the past, I guess, right? The only other part of this is what we would do in the future for, like, okay, we're having a new frontier, right, of Assassin's Creed games. So I want to hand it over to you. You've already done several videos of, locations or things like that of what you would do, but throw it in this video. What's the path you want, I guess, and you have full control here. So what's the path you're going to put Assassin's Creed on going forward, whether it's the genre, whether it's the location? What would you personally do?
So there's several different things. I think the first thing we need to do is avoid, it's going to sound bad, but avoid controversy in the way that Shadows has, brought upon the company. I think that one thing that we need to do if we're Ubisoft is get our messaging right, just right away. And I think that this applies across the entire company, but real quick for Assassin's Creed, I think what it means is clarifying that we care about the history, but it's still going to be fiction. And, finding a middle ground there where we're able to tell our stories, but we're not getting in trouble every other week, which is something that Ubisoft has been, doing, that I think is hurting Assassin's Creed. And I want your thoughts on that real quick. But my second thought, too, is that we also need to, as, focusing on Assassin's Creed, if we're Ubisoft in general, be able to reinvest our money from these things that, you're talking about doing, like our remakes, revisiting the past, things like that, bringing back characters, doing new ones. We need to be able to put that into other things, because something I talked to you about last night or the night before in text is I really think Assassin's Creed as a brand would be less criticized if Ubisoft, which in this case is us, we're willing to make more different things. We're willing to be more branching out outside of only this series. I think that would really help Assassin's Creed in general, because I think that Assassin's Creed is not only under scrutiny right now from previous AC fans, but from people from things like Splinter Cell fans or different things like that Ubisoft has made that they no longer really make.
100%. And okay, let's follow that path down, because I completely agree. So okay, we're looking to the future. We're looking to a new start for us with us as general managers. And no, that's exactly. I think I would do the exact same thing. You gotta make it clear that we're here for players, and that we, just like you said. I mean, it's a fine line, right? Because it is fiction, and even maybe you and I don't have the exact same 100% thoughts on what's going on even now with Shadows. But end of the day, you've got to find that balance of communicating and saying, look, we we want to have that creative freedom. We want to be able to, use some things that aren't normally, used. But at the same time, we're going to respect like what we're actually doing, and we want to make that very well known. So completely agree.
Yes.
That's something we've got to get across. We're going to have like a some sort of board meeting with the fandom on
We
day
need new
one to be able
PR.
to express that to them. And
New
then
PR.
what?
We need new PR, like, completely.
Yeah,
Like,
we need
that's
to, yeah. A
that's
lot
an
of people
overhaul of
would
Assassin's
technically be
Creed.
let go here. But
Yeah.
and then so I agree. And so here I'll kind of finish because I don't have too many thoughts about like the future, and then I'll hand it off to you. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
do. I would do a couple things, right? Number one, like you said, I'm cutting down. Okay, and that's something that under this exercise we can do. So like I said, we can technically cancel projects. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of the initiative of 2 Assassin's Creed games every year, right? This idea of
Mhm.
10 games over 5 years. We're cutting that back. Now, I will say I do like a lot of the ideas, and this is maybe where you and I would differ. So I want to hear your thoughts. I like some of the ideas I'm hearing, in terms of what they already have in the works. So I'd be looking at the studios and saying, okay, what do you actually have? I like the idea of Hexe. I like the idea that it sounds like it's not even an Assassin's Creed game, but it's got the name. I know that might be controversial, but I think it's got potential. So I'm leaving that, right? But I'm cutting back. So it's like, okay, we're doing like 1 game a year, if that, most likely not even that. But we're going to focus on the big RPGs, right? We're going to still do things like Shadows. We have to, but we're going to have those smaller experiences like Hexe. One idea that I had that's kind of just following even a minor thing in their plan is I'm actually going to bring back or whatever, let the initiative continue for multiplayer. I'm going to let multiplayer come back in a similar way that we used to have. And honestly, okay, if we want to get even more controversial, I might use that as like a money machine. I might try to make that some sort of live servicey thing that's not too, egregious, but that would be like the so I don't have to do it in other games, right? So I'm not charging $500 in all of these RPG ones. I'm going to bring back multiplayer, and I'm going to make it something that we can actually add to continuously over years. Now, technically, they're kind of doing that, but it sounds like they're doing like 2 different multiplayers, right? So I'm canceling one, right? I'm having one multiplayer experience, and it's going to be a Rocket League. It's going to be Dead by Daylight. It's going to be something that can continue for 10 years. But I'm getting rid of any other multiplayer idea. I'm getting rid of, if there's an idea of like 2 Assassin's Creed games in 1 year, one of them is going. But that's generally my plan. Multiplayer, smaller titles like Mirage type things. So Hexe is going to be a smaller game that we know of. So I'm keeping that. That's kind of my balance, I guess, right? That's what I would do day one as I'm looking in the future. We're saying, okay, if we got 5 100-hour games, we're cutting that down to like 2 or 3. If we've got, maybe we can keep all the smaller experiences and we're only doing one multiplayer. And we're not doing this Nexus thing where like everything is part of it. You can have that for just the multiplayer, but we're not having that for all of our games. So that's pretty much my entire thing. So I'll just hand it back to you to, what you think of what I said or what you would do.
So I think first off with the multiplayer, that is a great idea. The one place I differ on it is this. If we're bringing back the multiplayer, I agree, it should be a money machine. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but here's the thing. This is a online experience. It's kind of like Fortnite. It's kind of like any of these different things. You're in there, maybe it doesn't affect the core gameplay, but you can get a different assassin suit. You can get a different outfit, or you can get a historical weapon, things like that. Again, cosmetics. And here's my thing with this, though. I think that with our messaging as Ubisoft, we can't be saying all this stuff about respecting the past and all that with how the previous Ubisoft administration treated the previous multiplayer. Because the previous multiplayer was just shut down, just kind of out of the blue, gone. The people who still loved it, too bad. I think that what you need to do is right the ship with that, where you tell them, hey, look, it's multiplayer. Obviously, everything can have an end date, but there should be things built into this that make it last. For example, the way Call of Duty will do offline bots, things like that. If we are, personally for me, I would say also at some point do a Master Chief style collection, revamping the original multiplayers and, do that as well. But even if you're not doing that, you need to tell people, hey, those cosmetics you're buying, in 10 years, if this game is shut down, you can still use that against bots in a social stealth gameplay type thing. So I think you need to give them value. You need to tell them there's value. And when we're talking about bringing back things too, my other thing is I really do think you need to go back through the assassins, look at them, see if there are any that didn't get their ideas fully fleshed out, and decide if we want to bring that character back. Because right now, the way that it has been being run is every time there's a follow-up idea for an assassin, it's a comic book or it's a novel or, something like that. That's fine, but that only goes so far. And a lot of people are not going to interact with that media. I think that media needs to be subsidizing and helping our universe, not building it. Right now, how many stories are there about Ezio or about Ivor or about all these characters buried in some comic book? How many different things, like Assassin's Creed 4's entire real world storyline with Juno? It's finished in a comic book. It's not even in the games. And I think that when we're going back through the series and doing this, we need to get these messaging things right. We need to start saying, we're giving you value. That value is not going to go away. We're fixing the story problems. Maybe you never read this comic. We're including it. I think that it's like, what you said about revisiting the past, that right there is a gold mine. But then going forward, you also have the thought process of, what does Assassin's Creed need to be? Well, here's what I think it needs to be: everything. And that sounds ridiculous to some people, but to some people, Assassin's Creed is that style of the Ezio trilogy. To some people, it's that style of AC4. To some people, it is the style of Origins. To some, it's actually the style of Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Why can't we do multiple styles of game? They take place in the same universe. Again, we reinvest some of this money back into other franchises within our company, so we're not just the Assassin's Creed and Just Dance people and Rainbow Six people, Siege or whatever. We also do this other stuff. And it's not a jack of all trades, master of none, because we have these different studio teams. These people are going to be passionate about different styles of gameplay. Maybe you have Thomas, and he's passionate. He's a developer. He's passionate about the RPG style. Put him on the RPG team. We've got Jane. She's passionate about the side scrollers from back in Chronicles. Put her on a smaller game like that. Like, we have the money to do this. We should not be getting stale. We have no excuse as a company to be getting stale. There's like 4 or 5 gameplay styles. There's any era in human history. There's the fictional element. I cannot believe that, right now in real life, we're at a point where years ago for this franchise, it got stale for people, but we have all of human history and so many types of game to draw from. And you're right, even the multiplayer to draw from. Like, this series, it really can be whatever you want, and it doesn't have to be just one of those things. And I think for me, that's the part I'm most passionate about is, you've proven you can do this style, or this style, or this style, like in this previous Ubisoft. So why can't we do them at the same time with these different passionate teams, instead of telling them all, you're stuck on the RPG engine, make us a smaller game. You're stuck on the RPG engine, make this. You're not stuck on the RPG engine, you're going back to something totally different, remake this. We can do all of this and do it competently. And if we can't, I don't know what kind of company we've been building for the last 15 years.
But, to your point, and so the final thing I'll say, and we'll wrap this video up, to that, like the Hexays of the world is one thing, right? You mentioned side scrollers, and we just had Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which I think is one of the best Prince of Persia games to ever come out, and that's a side scroller, and it does it so free. And that's something that does not cost a lot of money. It didn't make a lot of money, but that's, to me, and maybe I think you would probably have the same ideology, that just shows that shows our ideology, right? That shows our willingness. It shows the ability to try new things, and if it doesn't work, oh, well, we take the L, right? So that's something that, you think about a side scroller in the same vein as literally The Lost Crown that we got last year, which was one of the better games of last year, right? So that's Hexay, things like that. Make make like a top down thing, like literally make whatever kind of genres you want. I'm with you. Like, just have that creativity flow, because that's that's a common criticism of our new franchise, Jay, in Assassin's Creed, that we do the same thing too much. So we have to fix that.
Reinvest it. Reinvest that money, like you've said before, where it's like you take a little bit of it back in to experimental stuff, and if that's not profitable, you can still have a subset of your money for spicing up the brand.
So I don't know about you, Jay. I absolutely freaking love this this video, and hopefully we're actually going to definitely do more of these now that we had a good test run here. So let us know, you people at home, let us know what you would do. If you had full control of Assassin's Creed, how would you change it? What would you, what would you do, anything, I guess, with the franchise going forward? Check Jay's channel out. Again, a great guy, a great creator. And if you like Assassin's Creed, well, he's done a ton of Assassin's Creed videos that's very worth watching. Make make sure, as always, you're subscribed to all of our channels. Jay, thank you as always for being here.
Hey, thanks, man. I think this is like the 70-something Assassin's Creed video on various channels I've been involved with. So, yeah, it's like I'm very passionate about it, just like you. I think that I want to close with one thought. When we talk about this, our point is really just we talk about this because we're passionate about it. You know, like I've for so long said, if I was in charge of Ubisoft, there's so much I would change. So I think that this was really fun to kind of get it off my chest. It's like therapy as a abused Assassin's Creed fan who's been wanting things for a long time.
No, I thought this would be kind of cathartic for both of us, so I thought this was actually really, really fun. So thank you for being here, man. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.